Welcome everybody to the talk show presented by Michelin, live right from the heart of the IMSA WeatherTech paddock. And of course, it is race day, TK.
It is race day, and the weather is not looking particularly good. The weather's not looking great, but just like the drivers, rain or shine, we are going to be flat out here on the talk show. Green, green, green.
We're in. Wow, what a great week it's been so far. They're calling it Super Sebring just because it's probably the most super place on the planet to be right now. For the fans, for the drivers, for everybody. No one's ever seen Sebring look like this. There's 200,000 people are here over the course of this weekend. We, of course, went out last night and met about, well, 500 of them that were having a pretty darn good time.
And we teased it on the show. Tristan Nunez was performing, and I had, we already said we were not excited that he looks like he does, drives race cars, and is in a band. After we saw him actually sing, it's safe to say we agree. We hate Tristan Nunez, right?
Well, no, I'm starting to really hate young drivers with a lot of talent that are fast, handsome, and he said he had made 3 songs about breakups, and I think your wife might have pointed out that I think there's going to be more about makeups. So there he is. Look at him. I mean, it's just annoying. I really felt at some point during that I was going to tell him that I play the cymbals.
Yeah.
I'm really good. I can keep.
I think my wife, who's been pretty impressed by Felipe Nasser and his teeth and his tan and his look up, she said to you, Felipe who, when he took the stage.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
And
then asked Tristan's mother, whether they need a babysitter, which I thought was really funny. But let's get back to what's happening here at Sebring. Of course, last night we had the wet race. And shocker, Fernando Alonso won the 8 Hours of Sebring here, and he seemed obviously pretty stoked about it. All I'll say is that from my motorhome, they kept me awake. I mean, it was a little distracting. I'm 25 feet from cars flying by at 140 miles an hour.
Think about the collection. He's collecting big race wins. Now, granted, you knew it was going to be one of the 2 Toyotas, but the 7 car had some trouble. But truly impressive, and now he's going to try to go to Indy and become the first ever to close that series of wins out.
Yeah, so he's on a mission. But today's show, we're really excited about. We've been teasing the man with the big orange head all day, all week, and some of you are pretty close to getting it. Some of you have. But our first guest, I really want to say. He was extraordinary at Daytona.
Yeah, and the conditions, it's funny because in the rain, people say, did you used to like to race in the rain? I loved it, sort of, because no one is immune to mistakes, but you really can take some chances and separate yourself, and he was doing that. Obviously, it didn't turn out right, but you can't have it both ways. You can't play it safe and be a hero in the rain. And so we're going to have Toni Vilander on to talk about that and try to take you inside, because in the in-car, it looks like he just drives into the back of this car. Well, you can see that he can't see much, but we're going to unpack that a little bit because you're literally looking out the side window for the brake marker, flying instrument rating with no instruments.
Yeah,
flying.
Exactly.
And so, but then the Michelin Mystery Guest, give you a little more information. We've teased it with the pictures. I will also tell you this man is the winningest man in Sebring history with 8 wins, overall or class wins.
And humble, too. Super,
8 wins.
8 wins. Okay, we'll go with that. And then, of course, we have our VP for the fans, and we're going to ask another one of your questions. Anyway, let's bring Toni on. Welcome, Toni Vilander, everyone. Sit down. That's perfect. Wow, Toni, you must have been really bloody happy when you woke up this morning and you saw more rain.
Every race, every meeting, every event is a different story. You need to build up the confidence. You need to find the right lines. But it was a bit of a shocker. Open the windows and say, hell, it's raining.
Hell, it's raining.
Now, you seem loose, though. There's got to be a little bit of butterflies.
Yeah, the initial program now is my driving duties start after a few hours of racing, so I'm expecting everything is a little bit more settled. I would be a little bit more nervous if I would take the race start, to be honest, but it's the way it is. I believe all the drivers are in the same boat. There's not been wet weather running. There's not been those rain tires underneath the cars, so it's going to be tricky. I saw cars now on the back straight in the warm-up that will go in second, third gear. That's how the conditions are.
And this track, I mean, when it rains here in South Florida, we have the water,
sunny state.
The sunny state, right? All these oranges, but the water table is not far below here. We're at
So the
sea
water
level,
doesn't-
so it doesn't
yeah.
really go in. But let's talk about Daytona, if you don't mind. I mean, our vision for this, and first of all, apologies. We said it on the show yesterday. I blew it on Thursday. We literally were going, and Tony. And
We were so excited to have him, but we just didn't tell him.
we just didn't
I
tell him.
wrote on Instagram, what?
Yeah, I know.
What?
Am I supposed to be there? Because I'm getting in the car. But thanks
I'm in
for-
a meeting.
Thanks for playing along. But, I mean, TK and I were sitting here. We were actually watching on this monitor when that wreck happened. But before it, we were
Fastest
you were the
GTD car,
fastest
like
GT
not even close. So
dominating.
how do you find the grip? Everyone's good. How do you separate yourself like that? What do you think about when you're doing that?
First of all, I think it goes back many, many years.
Well, we're going to watch this first as you come through.
Yeah.
Guys, this is where basically, Tony, at this moment, you're on a roll.
Now you're probably looking at everyone. All the cars are low. Notice everyone's low here.
Yeah.
Are they going to stay low?
Yeah, we were actually going through it this weekend. The spotters on the top, they had no view, no vision of the bus stop. We're going into bus stop. I'm actually coming off the throttle earlier than I was lap before.
Yeah.
I managed to go down 2 gears, but everything happened before I saw the car. I chose the high line probably because everybody else was low.
Jace, can you play that again?
I was talking to the driver who I ran into, and I said, I'm sorry. He said, no reason to be sorry. The team called him to back off. Just bring the car to the end. They were 2 laps down. And going backwards again, my team had just got a drive-through penalty. So I was in the back of the grid in GTD, preparing to turn into the bus stop. And boom.
Ow.
So,
Yeah, so
not
it
a
was
proud
almost the
moment, though.
perfect storm because he was backing off.
Yeah.
As you said, he was instructed to back off early just to survive.
Yeah.
That aside, it's a special thrill to go quick in the rain. Do you actually
Yeah.
like the challenge?
Yeah, the spotter I had on the radio was going wild when I was passing the LMP2 cars.
Yeah.
So, as I was trying to say in the beginning, the wet weather thing I think it goes down to go-karts.
Really?
Yeah, I think you either got it or you don't. And then, obviously, if you have a good run, you build up the confidence. I knew where to put the race car. If I had a clear vision, I knew where to put it every lap. I knew if I overshoot, I could still stop the car. I knew where the water was. I knew going into turn 1, everybody was going off because they were overshooting. You come from the banking to the flat spot, and if you are there on the brakes, you lock the brakes and you go off. So I knew I rolled through that part, through the turn 1, good lines through the infield. Same thing at bus stop. In the exit, there was a big pile of water. Don't go full throttle there, and that's it.
I mean, you guys from Finland, Sweden, I mean, you make great rally drivers. We always say it's because you spend 9 months of the year doing it, driving in bad conditions. Is that part of it as well, or is it really the karting?
It's difficult to say. I mean, I was one notch ahead of everybody on the rain in go-karts in a national level.
Okay.
I won some European Championship race on rain with the top level. I did some good races under rain in single-seaters, but there was one guy once in Imola that really taught me a lesson back in 2003 or something. Lewis Hamilton, he lapped us.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? That good in the rain?
That was another level again.
Yeah. I remember being in the rain. I mean, my moment of that, you obviously went on to great success in Formula 1 and stuff, but I was, my Vauxhall Lotus race, Opel Lotus, we were at Silverstone, pouring of rain. Alan
1963.
Yeah. It's so funny. These guys have got a sense of humor. It was 88.
With the Niki Lauda long
yeah,
gloves,
I was
the
doing
orange
that.
long gloves.
You're on a roll. This is good. It's good. Who says these funny Finnish don't have a sense of humor? Anyway, I'm on the front. Alan McNeish was on the inside, and Mika had bad qualifying. They were in the Marlboro cars. He was like 8th on the outside. I'm on the inside front row. Do you remember, James? It was my buddies over there. Totally wet race, and I'm like clinging on as we go through that first right-hander there, and there's this red and white flash comes down the outside, and I'm going, Mika is so, well, no, what's happening here? And he just goes around and takes off.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, well, I probably won't be doing that.
Now, it is a different. I mean, Finland is like its own world. I love following you on Instagram. I mean, you've got maybe the busiest life. You're doing 31 races between driving and commentating. You have a bar restaurant.
Yeah.
Renovating apartment buildings.
Yeah.
3 young kids. Trips on snowmobiles. Leaving anything out?
No, that's that's most part of it, I'd say.
I don't know what this has to do with it.
Yeah.
This is,
Yeah.
I think.
You talk about you went to training camp. We like your body hair, but that's it says insanely muscular monkey spotted in Finland, and we have no clue, but it made us laugh.
All right. Yeah, it's a busy schedule, but at the moment I'm really enjoying it. It's a good balance between the family life, racing. Racing is with the good teams, good car. I don't need to think too much thought process on that. Just go flat out.
Well, is
My
that
friend over there.
Your friend over there. I don't know
Yeah.
what he's doing to you, but
Yeah.
it's.
Yeah, this is relaxing. You know, it's
Yeah, I
just
bet it's
different. On that trip, I drove almost 200 miles in a row in a snowmobile, middle of nowhere. So much snow that you almost lose the route because it's a sign, it's a marked route which you need to follow. And the snowmobile is going like a jet ski. If you back off the throttle, you go down.
And you said you can go from the bottom of Finland to the top on a snowmobile on a marked route as long as there's
Yes,
enough snow.
If there's enough snow, you can do it.
Does everyone have a snowmobile?
Not everyone, but when you go to Lapland, it's a way of life. It's different. They go fishing, they go hunting, it's a way of life in Lapland. Maybe in southern Finland is more of an enjoyment, but it's part of life in
But
Lapland.
I mean, you go to the gas station. When I was there shooting that Range Rover thing, they're in the gas station just piled. I mean, it's like looking at scooters.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it's true.
You know, like crazy. I hate reindeer.
I
gonna
love
throw
it.
out there.
I
You
love
love
it.
'em?
I love it.
I don't. I'm a vegetarian, so I didn't do a lot.
Ah,
Look at that.
Yeah.
The little
but-
ones, what, 8 months?
No, a little bit older, 14.
Okay.
Just Monday or Tuesday started walking.
Oh, my goodness.
No
Monday
way.
and a Tuesday I flew over here.
At least you got to see it.
Yeah.
But back to my reindeer, because I got towed around. But I mean, I'm sorry. Everyone, they're portrayed in Christmas books as being cute. But actually, I did a whole thing behind this reindeer for
And
the
what
show.
happened?
Well, if they're not kicking up ice, they're farting.
Yeah.
I mean, literally the whole way.
So it
like,
was a smelly
what
ride.
the-
Smelly
oh my
ride.
God! And then their horns fall off, and then and then you guys eat them right at the
that's
end.
good. It's-
And they say they're the most useful animal in the world, really, because they dig for their own food.
Yeah.
You don't need to take food like you do for horses and dogs.
Yeah, on the routes with the snowmobile, my brother almost ran over a reindeer, but you find a pile of reindeers because the route we use with the snowmobile gets packed. You know, it's not soft snow, so the reindeers prefer to run over them,
Okay.
over that route. So then we need to back off, wait, and they just keep running. We're behind, they keep running. You need to go on the side and say, hey, back off, back off.
That's crazy.
Now,
Yeah.
you Formula One commentating when you don't have a conflict. I asked if you knew Kimi Räikkönen. You go way back with Kimi. Actually, did military service together.
Yeah, the first time Kimi was in my house was 1990, I think. We were 10 years old, Kimi 11. We did all the go-kart classes together. Kimi postponed military 1 year, and then we did it together. And a lot of crazy stories.
Who was on the top bunk?
Me.
You were, yeah.
A
Can
lot
you
of
still
crazy
Can
stories.
you still take him? Do you have the upper hand? I mean, when you're together, who's the alpha?
Yeah, but he's a tough.
He's
He's
tough.
tough. He's tough. When there's been few occasions, it's like both tap out at the
Really?
same time, and then it's like high five, no more. The next one is somebody's passing out, and both are like, oh,
Yeah, that's
you're
funny.
good, you're good.
You're good. You're not heavy. So coming into this race, obviously this morning we joke you wake up to the weather, but this you got 12 hours ahead, and obviously the DPIs are pretty darn quick out there. GTD is full, all the classes are racing. How do you approach today? Because as you say, you're not getting until later, but I mean you got teammates to work with.
Yeah. First of all, the GTD approach changes a little bit. I've been all the time in a pro program with Ferrari,
Yeah,
so
right.
need to calm down a little bit. Need to come off from my normal, like flat out. I need to perform at 1/10, or otherwise Ferrari will, I get an email on Monday. This is more like the others, getting comfortable with the car. There's the driving time thing. There's getting Cooper, Jeff. It changes everything. So I'm working on it all the time. I get angry with the engineer, and then they said, "You're not the priority, so back off." So I'm working on it all the time. It's good fun. As I said, car is on the top all the time. We have good tires. We have fun races. So it's good times, but changes the approach a little bit, and I need to work with the other guys more than usually that I'm used to. So it's not in my comfort zone yet, but a couple more races it will.
Perfect.
Now, one of the questions I like to ask all these people, if there's one driver that you rate the highest that you've ever encountered, I think you might have hinted at it earlier from the rain race, but if there's one driver that you say, this that you measure yourself against or you aspire to be or learn from.
Yeah, I must point out Kimi, especially the years he was in McLaren. At the time, as you might remember, there was an F1 test team and you had the testing program, so there was a racing team, and there might be another 2 similar teams around the Europe testing. So I went to the races a lot of times, and at the test sessions you can actually go around the track. And there was a tire war between Michelin and Bridgestone and all those times. So you would see Kimi doing a 3-day test, 15 minutes to the end, visor down, you hear. Then the engineer goes, "Kimi, okay, I'm fastest lap of the 3 days." So
Special. Just
we done cross karts, we done snowmobiles, we done go-karts. We partied night before. He beats me every time.
Really?
So it's a bit like you said, annoying. It's annoying if there's a player who knows how to sing, handsome guy. Yeah, but Kimi on the thing where there's an engine, gas involved, he's annoying.
Brilliant. Listen, we're going to let you go. I know you've got to prepare. We'll see you at Mid-Ohio, I guess, and we'll get you on the show again soon.
Yeah,
thanks so much.
We'll be following your exploits on Instagram until then.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
I still have reindeers, everybody. As soon as we come back, we're going to introduce you to the Michelin Mystery Guest. Stay tuned.
The legend.
The legend himself.
That was a pretty powerful hint there at the end. The winningest driver in IMSA history, or not in Sebring history, and I think maybe just a couple short of the most ever appearances by an American at Le Mans. My personal history with this man began in 1983 in the Russell Series. Came to the house for Thanksgiving dinner one year. Ladies and gentlemen, Johnny O'Connell.
Guys, thanks for having me on. Yeah, and you know what? I am so glad you brought up that time back in the early mid-'80s because, I had just graduated college and moved out and was, for lack of a better term, living in the ghettos of Riverside, California. I had no friends, and Thanksgiving came around, and you and Bart, invited me out to the house, and I never knew how tough Californians were.
Yeah.
Because it's funny, when you grow up on the East Coast and you go to school in the Midwest, you just think all Californians are surfers. And if you'll remember, we played football.
Yes, Turkey Bowl.
I was like, man, these guys hit.
Yeah.
So it was, a great time. And, we have some great memories.
I mean, that era with that group of guys, Jeff Krosnoff, obviously the guy that taught all of us what it meant to be a serious race car driver, really.
He was ahead of the curve. He was ahead of a curve. And because, back then, nobody worked out.
Right.
And I was not, against having, a beer or 2 or 3, and all that kind of stuff. And Jeff, he was training and running and all that kind of stuff. So, but then we had, David Kudrave, yourself. There was a lot of gunfighters
Ken
back then.
Thwait, Scott Atchison, Danny Thompson, Mike
all
Groff,
in that area of California?
All in the Russell Series at that
Russell
time.
Series.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was pretty impressive. You know what's really cool? You might not remember this, but my roommate at the time was a guy named Andy Slanker.
I'm Randy Slankard.
Yeah, Slankard
and worked up the ranks at Ford.
at Ford.
Yes.
Yeah, one of the top guys. So that was a special era.
So one of you got a real job.
Oh yeah.
Someone went on to a real job.
Well, you know what? I think he decided it was funny because there was this one time in the Russell series, and we were racing at Sears Point, and turn 10 with the wind was flat.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, man, you know, that was the big thing back then because you didn't have computers and hey man, you flat in 10? I'm like, heck yeah, you're not. And like on lap 2, he goes out after I told him it was flat, and of course he balls it up big time. And he tried to blame me for that. I'm like, dude, it was flat for me. So anyway, good stories, good times.
Or maybe a little lift. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Sebring.
Yeah.
8 wins. One of them was at my expense in '93, rain race.
Yeah.
And but what is it about this place and you?
You know, and I think you guys can probably, you know, say the same things when you look at your careers. There were just certain circuits that you felt better at, that it made sense. And this was actually my first IMSA race ever, back for Nissan. And but just always found a great rhythm here. You know, no elevation change, but just I love the combination of corners, and then of course great teams and teammates and all that kind of stuff. But that was. You know, those were some great times, you know, because, you know, you and I had many great battles back then. And it was funny because we would always go to Daytona, and we even before the start of the race, you could have handed these guys the trophy. And so this might have been, you know, a similar deal. We were always pretty good here.
Now, you said no elevation change. A stat we didn't get on from Michelin in terms of they calculated how much the wheels travel.
Yeah.
There's actually 18 feet of elevation change at Sebring, an inch at a time over the course of a lap.
And I'm sure you and I have experienced all 18 feet of that. But yeah, just you know what? I've always loved this place. It is one of the historic ones. It's one of the ones, you know, sports car drivers. You know, there's certain races you want to win, and this is definitely on that list.
Well, you got greedy here. I mean, let's face it, and it's come your way. But I do want to say something about. You drive over the bridge here, and there's the Corvette Corral on the left.
Yeah.
And anytime Johnny O'Connell, you know, ex-wives, girlfriends, kids, annoying stuff in life, and you want to feel good about yourself, you just have to walk through there because you have godlike status in there. They are the most loyal fans in the world.
They are fabulous, and really so much of the fan base of Corvette goes to Doug Feehan. You know, and creating a real great aura about it. But then also, you know, you know, there's some drivers that like to engage, you know, with the fans and all that kind of stuff. I know Ron and I always enjoyed that, and make them feel a part of the excitement that at that time was Corvette. Now, you know, with Cadillac, we're trying to do the same thing.
Now, there's some other things that I didn't talk about. You've also, when we were hinting the Michelin Mystery Guest, we're going to take it back to 2007. To a Super Bowl commercial.
Oh yeah,
where you got to bust out some rhymes.
Yeah.
Let's see what this is about.
Yeah, we'd never seen
Top is down on the black Corvette, and it's fly 'cause it's sitting on Dayton.
All right, you know what? All right, here's the funniest thing. The funniest, and this is a true story, because I had no idea that was going to be a Super Bowl commercial. They're just like, hey, we were sending you to Indianapolis, and you're going to, you know, shoot a commercial and all that kind of stuff. And you remember, you know, that's part of your contract. And so so I show up. It's a freezing cold day, and it was cool because they like sent a limo for me.
Right.
And I'm like, oh,
your own trailer.
I'm big time. And so I get out, and the director comes up to me, and he's a black guy, and real nice guy. And he's like, hey, listen, you ever listen to L Cool J? And I'm like, not really. He's like, well, have you ever heard the song, you know, Going Back to Cali? I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard that. He's like, well, we're gonna have you do a rap, and I'm like, wait, you're gonna have a white redheaded guy do a rap, and he started laughing. He's like, yeah. So it actually turned out pretty good. But what you don't know, that day at Indy, it was about 33 degrees with a light mist, and I mean, you're just in your driver's suit, you're freezing every moment. But that was fun. The one I like better is after it, they did a follow-up commercial where we all sang American Pie. And so that one, and he's like, hey, do you know American Pie? I'm like, yeah, man, I sing it to my kids. So
now,
good memories.
there were some big stars in that. You got paid the same as Mary J.?
You know what? Not on the first commercial. The second one, the
Second
American
one?
Pie. Maybe I don't know what the deal was, but I doubt it. But you know what I mean? It was just a huge honor. To Mary J. She's probably singing a little bit better than I am.
She did. She was. That's for sure.
Although Tony Stewart, Tony Stewart, from what they told me, man, worst singer in the world. So
You actually pulled it off.
yeah, oh yeah. No,
was impressive.
it was.
It was shocking for us actually. When
well-
we saw it for the first time this morning.
Do watch the American Pie one.
We will.
It is better. But I got to tell you, Tommy, just like you, at General Motors has been so good to me. My time.
Really,
my
really
tenure-
good to you.
Really good. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm 19 years now with them, and so and with a lot of wins with Corvette, and and then had some good luck with Cadillac as well, and and it's neat when you grow that association with the brand where you're connected to them. But then also share the excitement because with what Cadillac's doing right now with the V Series, I don't know. You guys have probably driven those cars.
Oh, yeah.
It's insane how good and fun they are. So I'm.
If
I'm
you would have
grateful.
said to us a couple years ago, "Hey, here are the specs of a luxury sedan,"
You'd be
said,
like,
"No, that's
no
that-
way.
yes,
Yeah.
no
Oh
way,
yeah,
no way,
yeah,
no
it
way."
is.
But
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, American Pie commercial coming on now.
Ah.
Okay.
Use of
Alright.
this spot without written
Well,
permission
is
from
this-
GM is prohibited. All right, perfect.
Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. With just good old boys.
Drinking whiskey and rye, singing.
You look really nice and young.
Sing.
You know, I don't know. Was that like a tenor? I ain't a baritone.
I don't know what it was. But
Yeah.
listen, race day.
Yeah.
Carry
Race
a
day.
tune.
The great thing that Tommy and I like about our job is we created this show so we could have all the fun right up until the start of the race
Yeah.
on our terms, and then we just sit here and hang out and watch. Obviously, old dudes, you're not quite as retired because we were discussing before. You will never retire. It's like the word that you fight against more than any other human being I've known. But what do you think these guys are feeling this morning?
It was funny because on the drive here, I was like, you know what? There are a lot of guys that did not sleep well last night, and there are a lot of guys
Big knots in the
that
stomach.
you guys know what it's like. You're coming into the racetrack, and it's funny because you were mentioning with Tony about driving in the wet. And all your top drivers, they all think they're good in the wet. Yeah, I'm great in the wet. I love the wet, and that's just I think for everybody just kind of a personal way to psych yourself up for doing it. And this place is just difficult and dangerous. I've been here when
Don't
they
get
red
close to
flagged
the
it.
pit wall.
Oh yeah, oh yes. Go down the middle. I
Yeah.
remember Wayne Taylor ping-ponging right in front of me all the way down the front straight. I think I was with Panos then. But actually, one of my favorite races, Tommy, was back here when I drove for Nissan in the wet. And you and I are lucky because we've been and you as well because we've gotten to race against some of our heroes. And so I was in the Nissan and Hans Stuck was out there in a Porsche, and we were running 1-2 in the race. And even for a while, but then I started fogging up. And I'm like, I couldn't see. I couldn't take the chances that I wanted. And I got out of the car, and I'm like, because he gapped me and all that kind of stuff. I was pretty angry. Well, come to find out that he had a pole with a rag on it. Yeah.
I had a squeegee because
Yeah.
we were way back. Squeegee and
Oh, yeah. It made all the difference. But special times.
This was not what you can't have 8 wins and not have some low moments.
Yeah.
One of the more memorable clips from you here at Sebring.
Ah, yes.
Exploded
17.
brake rotor.
Yeah.
Nice, almost a completed.
Could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, and again, true story. I literally on Thursday before the race had gone and standing in 17 and said, "What are you going to do here if you lose brakes?" And no lie. I mean, and that's almost like divine intervention or whatever. But I'm like, all right, start throwing it down gears because back then you could still do that. You didn't have the paddles, and get the thing spinning and try to spin it underneath the bridge. And so yeah, that was. That was an unfortunate. That was a race that I wanted us to win so bad. I think it was either Aston or Ferrari that ended up winning that year. But it was carbon rotors and stuff back then, and I had been told you got to dial back because one of our guys had been dialing to the front and destroying the front rotors, and our friend Dan Binks was like, be careful on the brakes, be careful on. Well, how do you be careful on the brakes?
I know,
and so you're
go
going
fast but save fuel.
I know, and so yeah, I mean, went in and it was just poof, yeah. So, but we got it back out there.
He touched on it. You never thought about retirement day. I mean, you would literally drive until you're 100 if they'd let you, would you?
Well, yeah, I still love it.
I know.
I mean, you know, it's a funny story. Like I did Le Mans again in 2016, and I saw McNish, and I'm like, hey, you know, Alan, what's going on? And I'm like, hey, how you dealing with this retirement thing? And he's like, oh man, I love it. I don't get nervous anymore. I'm sleeping, and I just couldn't wrap around it because you know we spend our whole life. You wake up in the morning and
The adrenaline starts
The
to
you have a
go.
reason to get up.
Everything you do
And-
that day, even if it's not at the racetrack, is for that.
yeah. Well, and it's funny because I always, you know, figured, okay, I'll step away when I feel I've lost speed. When I get in a car and one of these young guys are, you know, 3-4 tenths quicker than you, then you're like, all right, it's time. But that really wasn't the case. So, and I mean, I was, you know, 54 and still running at the front, you know, in World Challenge against factory McLaren and Porsche guys that were, you know, late 20s, early 30s, and you're like, you know, why be done? But you know, unfortunately, in this game, you don't really always get to pick your
Well,
you know,
hey, we're
departure
gonna.
date.
Mary Barra, I know you're watching. We're not going to plead to Doug Feehan or any of those guys. Mary Barra, this man's still got some fuel left in the tank.
Yeah, I'm angry. I'm angry.
Angry.
But you know what? I mean, again, so you know when things slowed down and Cadillac pulled that program, I could have called Porsche teams or Ferrari teams and said, hey, you know, I want to do a deal with you. But then I would have been, you know, saying goodbye to, you know, 17 years of
You got
of
another
goodwill.
30 years of working for these guys.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it's funny because I'll go out and I'll do a track day, and man, it's like when you and I were like at Russell, and it's just so much fun. Yeah.
Actually, I forgot. We filmed a CTSV commercial here, test drive.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And had a huge moment in one while we were filming. I was talking. So, but
Well, we also did the thing with Jimmy Johnson and the vets. And thank God, touch wood real quick that I didn't wreck it that one time I was in front of you guys and looped that thing around. But that was fun. You know, I mean, you think about the stuff that we've gotten to do over the years.
And
Some pretty
survived
fun
and
stuff.
still here.
Pretty good.
We're going to ask you to stay put
right.
till the end of the show. Thanks so much for being on. But we're going to run through some of our little fun things we have going on here. We have, as we've been running the VP Racing for the fans, thanks for your questions over the last few days. They have been really funny. But just down there is a little goodie bag there, not a little Michelin Man. We'll be sending you these. Inside is everything you needed at Sebring until this morning. Lips out, sunblock. It was all going well.
I think we're going to ask Johnny maybe for his opinion. We've got there's a fan group on IMSA fans on Facebook that's come up with some memes. And a lot of IMSA fans aren't exactly WEC fans.
Yeah.
So here you have MX5 Cup, F1, and IMSA, and their sister, who's the WEC, says, you guys always act like you're better than me.
Yeah.
I like it.
MX5 Cup. And then here, this is a little inside baseball. When it was all set up for the DPIs, the rules to be made so that all these beautiful DPI cars, the caddies, could go run at Le Mans. At the last second, they're like, you have to run the Gibson engine.
Oh,
And those of us who have been to Le Mans understand the frustration. We might not be able to get credentials next time we go back
No.
after showing this stuff, but there's Le Mans kind of pulled the rug out from under and let me in.
Well, that's funny. There we
And
are.
there's some people that aren't exactly fans of the new hypercar regulations. So
Well, we know Brett, who's our senior producer in there, not producer, director. Brett, I'm going to call you. He's a member of this group. So
do you have a favorite of those three?
Well, you know what? I'm an IMSA guy.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean these three?
These
actually,
three
the four?
memes.
You know what? That's probably the second one where
Okay.
let me in right there. You know, and again, Le Mans is magical. It is. You know, I've done the Indy 500, and in my mind, Le Mans crushes it as far as the aura and the spectacle and all that kind of stuff. And that is, you know, if you ask what wins are important, you know, that's for every sports car guy. That's the one you want. But it is frustrating because I mean, I watched the race last night. And all right, yay, Toyota's won. Why even run them? Save the fuel. You know they're going to win. And so I think it would be great for them to embrace what you know really is an amazing category.
And imagine the extra manufacturers that would come in, just like in GTLM. If you get to go to Le Mans with those cars, more people build them.
Yeah, well, and why? You know what? Why should a factory program? Again, I know we got to an era where every top factory program was over $100 million.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, you bring it back down to a place where Mazda can run for an overall win, Cadillac can run for, and you know, I mean, there's no reason Mercedes, Lexus, and all those guys can't join in, but they're going to be more tempted to join in. if you reduce the amount of technology and again put it in the hands. One of the most frustrating things for me, and maybe you guys feel this is a way as well, this technology that they're bringing in these cars, it's taking guys like us out of the equation. You go back 15 years and you knew who was good, and
harder to tell.
Yeah, it is much more difficult.
On that note, got some stuff off our chest. Feeling better there, vetting it out.
VP Racing Fuels for the Fan just went political, but we like that. And when we get refused credentials at Le Mans, we'll thank you there, Johnny. But of course, we're just in some ways, we like to think ourselves as the ultimate warm-up act for our partners over, our colleagues and peer group over at NBC SN, and they've got an amazing show coming up. Kudos to them also for the Daytona broadcast, because that was really rocked, and I think they showed their stuff. But we're glad that we're not the ones in pit lane today. But remember, the NBC broadcast will be going on not long after this show goes on, comes off air. Our social media channels, please get engaged and follow us.
We just Show Live is the way to find all of that.
And our website at thetalkshow.com just went live. And we have our new merchandising. We have our new Sebring shirt, which we're very pleased with today. But, of course, our partners at Michelin have really been pushing the boat out this year with their full engagement with the series. It's all for them about activating those touch points with the fans and really bridging the gap between the race technology. And we know we're always talking about that with GM. The road cars and the race cars. It's the same with Michelin for their race tires to the road tires. And obviously, there's a lot of people that are now thinking about getting involved with and putting Michelin on their car. And Michelin have come up with a pretty good way of doing it, 50 for 50.
Well, we saw how excited Juan Montoya got talking, literally like giddy, talking about confidential tires. And the performance level of what Michelin does when all the shackles are removed. So you guys have a shot. They're giving away 50 sets for IMSA 50 sets of Michelins this year. So go to the Torque Show Instagram, look for the promotion. There's a link there to enter to have a shot at a set of free Michelin tires, which is not a poke in the eye.
Are we forbidden? Are we banned? I think we're banned from asking for those. And, of course, we also, if you might have noticed on our various channels and now on podcast, we use this set in between these main shows to sit down and talk with people. I mean, we'll get you on another time and we can dig deeper. And we did Bernd Schneider and Angus McKenzie and...
We'll tease the ones we did this weekend.
That was before. This weekend, we've had...
Kenny Hill from Metalore, the mad scientist Larry Holt from Multimatic, and long sit-down, some stuff over my head, but fascinating technical stuff if that's your bailiwick. And along those lines, once the race starts, the NBC will be doing the heavy lifting, but we will be popping up live on our channel doing we're going to do a grid walk. We might go into the infield a little bit later if the weather cooperates, and we'll be checking in with some updates here from the set, our thoughts on the race. So,
yeah, I mean, thank you. Thanks for watching. It has been an amazing Super Sebring. This place has really, I mean, kudos to Wayne Estes and his whole team here. They have raised their game, and they really made Sebring the place to be, I think, in the whole motorsport world. Thank you to Johnny. Thank you for Tony for coming on. He's got to get ready. But follow along. Be part of it. Be a part of the Talk Show family. Subscribe. And obviously, if you can share our content, it sounds like a gratuitous reach out for some help. But really, the more we grow this, the more you'll see us in the more places. So until you see us over on Talk Show Facebook later today, remember, the grid walk in a minute. We have no one in our ear, Tommy. We are free to roam out there on the grid. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching the Talk Show presented by Michelin, and we will see you at Long Beach.